Hello, welcome back. This is Miniature Mike. Today I'm going to continue my series for doing Sculpt tier lists, and I'm going to do Clone Wars. So just some quick background. First, I gotta move myself up to this, up to the corner here. Let's see here. Yeah, don't want to be in the way. Man, can I even select it? There you go. Now I'm going to be out of the way. You probably noticed the rate of which I've been making videos has slowed down quite a lot as it's kind of gotten into the late summer and fall. Just that being said, just appreciate your patience. I'm really grateful for all the awesome support I've gotten on this channel. But just things have gone really busy, with life, work, school, really picking up a lot lately, and just other things going on. So it's just been trying to still get these out, of course, but as you can see, definitely going to be at a slower rate, especially the comparison videos, which I really enjoy. Those take a lot of time to put together, but I'll keep them coming out, and depending on how things go, we'll see. But for now, just excited to get another video out for you guys. So let's jump into Clone Wars. This is our first set where there's just 40 minis instead of 60, and I tried to include some of the characters that we were missing, like from the characters from the Clone Wars starter set. And then, as you can see, the other Clone Wars characters from like those little mini packs. So I believe I got just about everyone. If I missed one, let me know. Or especially just let me know about their sculpt. So let's jump into this first one, Anakin. I think this one is solid. It's a B tier. I like it. I don't dislike it too much. I think the paint job's fine. I think I might like the other Anakins more from the past, but I think it's a fine sculpt. Ventress, I think Ventress is pretty cool. The thing I like about this Ventress sculpt is I really like the pose. It just seems like there's a lot of action going on. The paint job's fine. I think it's decent. I don't know, it's not an S tier sculpt for me, but I think A tier is very nice. I think for me it's my favorite Ventress sculpt for sure. And I think just kind of captures the character pretty well. So let's do that one right there. Okay, next one, Trandoshan Scavenger. This one's fine. I'm going to put it in B tier. The thing I like about it is I think they generally handle Trandoshans pretty good. I mean, they got really like nice texturing on the skin to represent the reptileness. That's captured pretty well. I'm not sure about the knife though. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be straight up, but every version of this I've ever gotten, it's crooked. It's probably just, just internal stresses in the plastic, kind of pulling it over, bent stuff. That's kind of all there is to it. I think it's a solid sculpt. Is it a C tier or is it a B tier sculpt? I just really like the way he's textured. I think they do a good job with these, even though maybe it's kind of a more boring-ish sculpt, but I think it's fine. So the Utpound Warrior, I think I'm going to put this one on high B tier, maybe A tier. We'll see how this shakes out. As you know, I'm kind of fluid. I move things around. Definitely like the pose. I think the art, the painting is done pretty well. I think overall, I like these guys a lot more than the originals personally. So maybe they'll go up to A tier. I'm not totally sure yet, but it's a cool sculpt in my opinion. Yeah, maybe I will. We'll see. All right, Dirge Jedi Hunter. Let's see, Dirge Jedi Hunter, pretty cool looking. I always thought that his shield on his arm was like people added that on later. It just kind of seemed I don't know, since it wasn't on the original one, and I haven't watched the original Clone Wars micro series much at all. I've seen it like once or twice. I just wasn't used to that. I think he looks pretty dang cool in this one. I like the other one more, of course, but I think this one's definitely solid. Maybe high B tier, maybe even low A tier, but we'll see how it shakes out. I'm gonna wait for a second, let it marinate. Nalvanian Warrior, I think these guys are A tier. I'm gonna put them top of A tier, maybe even higher. I just think these things look so good. Holy crap! It's not like what they're doing is super. I don't know. I'll put it this way: the stance maybe isn't like, super dynamic, but it's imposing, and I don't know, the whole thing we have going on here just reminds me of Eagle Warriors from my favorite game, Age of Empires. They just totally remind me of that, and I think the sculpting was done. It looks great. The painting looks great. I've always thought these guys look fantastic, even though in the game they're just kind of meh. They have ups and downs. Okay, I do not like this Super Battle Droid. I think the thing I don't like about it compared to the other ones is, and I might be accurate, I'm going to put the other Super Battle Droid down here. I don't hate them. I like how stocky the other Super Battle Droids are, and maybe that's not how they're... I think this kind of captures how Super Battle Droids are a little bit in the Clone Wars TV show, although in the Clone Wars TV show, things are more slender. However, the Super Battle Droids in that show tend to be very bulky in the center. They didn't exactly do that here, but the thing I don't like about these ones, they're just too slender. They're just way too slender. They don't have broad shoulders. Really like kind of skinny, flimsy looking. They don't look as epic or imposing as they did in the earlier sets. And so for that, I just have to knock these to C tier. I don't dislike them completely. Just a bummer for me personally, who really likes super battle droids. Like one of my favorite sculpts of all time is it's one of the Clone Strike super battle droids. It's just so great. So Techno Union, I'm gonna put this guy down here. Maybe even D tier. I don't know. I'm not like sure. Kind of looks like a Techno Union guy with this kind of gun, right angled at the hip. Not a big fan of it. I might even drop it to D tier, but we'll see if there's another thing more deserving. These droids, they look fine. I'll put them in B tier just because I have a kind of a soft spot for the IG droids. I think they're really cool. This IG droid, they're just not quite as, it's just not quite as epic looking, you know, with all the weapons and stuff, or maybe the posing that IG-88 has. But these things look fine, so I'll drop them right in here in B tier, solid. General Grievous. Personally, this is my favorite look for General Grievous. I know people really like some of the retro looks, but for me, I think this is great because it totally captures, you know, his shape, his proportions, his size. It captures, you know, has some of his like crab-like slenderness, and then it also, you know, he's got 3 sabers and a gun pulled out. I think this is my favorite version in terms of how he looks, and obviously in the game he's amazing. So can't say enough there. Ganact's fine. I'll do top of B tier. I think as a, I don't know, I'll put him low B tier just because like he's kind of an interesting looking miniature, kind of just like a, you know, short and plump guy. Kind of has the gun not sticking straight out awkwardly like other characters do, but I think he looks kind of, I don't know, for like a kind of short stubby character, I think it's not too bad. I might still drop him to top of C tier though, not my favorite. Clone Trooper Sergeants, so I think this is a bit of a rebound. Some of the Clone Troopers in this look pretty good. Some of them are, yikes, kind of shaky. Clone Troopers are either look really good or look really bad. I think this set does a pretty good job, though, at getting Clone Troopers right. So let's do this Clone Trooper. I think he's a B tier, a solid B tier. I'm going to put him right up there. Yep, I think looks pretty cool. Looks good. Not my favorite Clone Trooper. We'll get some of those later, but not bad. Human Mercenary. It's actually not the Human Mercenary. It's the Soldier of Fortune, but it's like the same thing almost. These guys look alright. I like the armor paint job, kind of a gold look to it. Big gun. Maybe not quite as much detail, but it's still pretty solid. I'm going to still put these guys in C tier. I'll put them right down here. Yeah. I think the thing I have with this Anakin is just kind of his pose. There's something about it that seems a little off, kind of like he's kinked sideways or something. I don't know. Ayla Secura, this one looks pretty good. I'm going to put her top of A tier. Easily better than the original. The original looks like she's falling backwards, slipping on a banana something. Not a fan of the original Ayla Secura at all. The new one, much better. You know, arm extended, looks like she's doing some sort of crazy force power. I think the paint job is actually still done pretty well. I know people tend to complain that the quality goes down. I think to a degree that's true, but I think some of the proportions and certain things get better. However, I can understand how maybe some of the older paint job was a little bit more true. I think this one's done really well. This might even, it's not S tier, but I think A tiers. I think this Ayla Secura looks great. Next, we got the Aqualish. I might even get this right. Assassin, I think. I believe so. I'm not sure. These things look fine. I mean, they're crazy looking aliens. And kind of reminiscent to me in some ways of like a Tusken in terms of like the stance and the staff that it's holding. They look fine. I mean, I'll probably do top of C tier. It's just not my favorite looking sculpt ever, but like it's not bad. Not bad as in D tier, but I'll put it down there. Rocket Battle Droid. So the thing with the Rocket Battle Droid is I'll probably put them in B tier. These things are always breaking over. They're always falling over, getting smashed. I don't like that very much, but it's just the way they are. I think they actually look kind of neat personally, but the paint job is fun that it's different from normal ones. It kind of has reminiscent of the Geonosian feel, but even more rust colored. Kind of fun. I'll put them up in B tier though. It's just the problem I have with these sculpts is they're not stable at all, and if they were more consistently stable, it would be pretty fun. So I'll put them down there. This guy, I don't know. I'm going to put him down in here in D tier. I think the helmet, at least on this one, generally just doesn't look right on these guys. The poncho is kind of cool. I'm going to put this a little bit higher. It's just not my favorite looking Clone Trooper. It just isn't. I mean, the left arm is extended way too straight. Or left leg, I should say, is extended too straight. The poncho is kind of a nice touch. But big gun, kind of falling backwards. I think I'm just kind of tainted by the fact that I don't like heavies usually in this game. So I'm just not a fan of this particular clone trooper look. I have to put it down in C tier. Let's move on to battle droid. I do generally like these battle droids quite a bit. I think I'm missing the other battle droid because when I went and did this, originally I just got rid of duplicates, but I have this guy here. I think both battle droids, I'm going to put them up in B tier, and the reason why I like them much more than the originals. The originals, they were limited by technology, the molds they were using. Whereas these battle droids, though they can be still kind of flimsy, they perfectly capture, I think, the, you know, almost skeleton-like features of the battle droids, and they do a great job at that. And so for that, I think these look they're pretty good. I think they're pretty nice overall. I'm going to put the original, I'll put the original just behind. I do like them. Just got to be careful. They're more fragile. Actually, they're more fragile. They're more bendy. I don't know if they're as brittle, though. Let's see here. Now we got the Utapown Warrior. Actually, no. This is the Neimoidian Warrior. These guys look pretty cool. Not like a dynamic stance, but I do kind of like the more like imposing presence that they bring. They look pretty cool. I might drop these again in B tier. I think they look pretty neat overall. I think they did a good job with kind of like the texturing of the different like layers and plates on the armor, clothes. Pretty solid. I'm not bad at all. Let's see, I'm going to put her Padme up higher. This is the Padme from the Micro series, and I think she looks alright. I'm not a huge fan of the extended gun thing, but I think it's a decent looking sculpt. Actually, I'm going to have to drop it a little bit more now that I think about it. It's B tier, but I think the whole, like, the head thing, shawl, looks pretty good. Kind of remnant, like, looks like she's kind of being blown in the wind. So, definitely solid. Maybe a couple things holding it back, but I'm going to keep it just kind of a mid-B tier for me. The Magna Guard, these Magna Guard droids, man, what do I think? I'm still going to just kind of drop them in B tier, low B tier. I think they look okay. I like the other originals. I think I like the originals a little bit better. I just think these ones, unlike some of the other ones, are kind of lacking some of that detail, so I'll put them down there. Quarren Isolationists, these guys are fine. I think Quarrens have been done much better in the past, especially with like the face and tentacles. This one just kind of feels a little lazy, unfortunately. I don't think it's a bad or jarring sculpt, so I'll just kind of keep it down there. Oddball's pretty cool. I might actually drop Oddball up in A tier. I think we'll see. I'm not gonna bump him up now that I think about it. Oddball looks pretty sweet, top of B tier. A good looking clone, sculpt overall, a good paint job. The face looks great, and then I do kind of like the almost dashing forward, gun extended look. Nice sculpt. Mon Calamari. These guys, I don't know, they're fine. I think Mon Calamari have been done better in the past. I think the Mon Calamari's fine. I'm gonna put them top of C tier. Not really my favorite. I think the shield looks pretty cool though. Was done well, but overall just kind of a boring. I don't know. Mon Calamari have been done better in the past, personally, so I'll have to put them down in C tier for me. Anakin Skywalker of Nelvon. This one's pretty neat. I think the thing I like with this one is I'm not sure how I feel about the sculpt. Like it has like that detail, like the chest tattoos. That's done pretty decently well, I think. Not a bad sculpt. I think top of B tier. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel like rating these guys quite as high as I have with some of the past ones. Ahsoka, I think, is decent. I'm going to put Ahsoka in B tier. Not my favorite. This is one earlier season Ahsoka, like maybe season 1, season 2 Ahsoka. I think it's done fine. I think it's hard to capture, of course, especially in later sets, but I think the detail around the head could have been done better on this Ahsoka, but I think it's okay. I think mid B tier is still fine for this. Star Corps Trooper, I'm going to put these guys in S tier. I think these things look so cool. I can't get enough of them. I'm going to just skip the line right now and put these guys in S tier. I think these two clone troopers, while maybe they don't have the most like epic looking stance, I think they just, well, at least this guy. This guy's just more just at attention, gun at hand. This guy's just kind of running and shooting from the hip. I think the detail on both of these is phenomenal. The paint looks great. I can't get enough of these. They're just, to me, I'm a sucker for them. I think they look so freaking good as clones. So I'm going to have to drop them both in S tier. Anakin on Stab. This is a pretty good looking sculpt. I think this is definitely going up to A tier for sure. Yeah, definitely going up to A tier. I think it's cool looking. He's riding on the staff. They get the proportions right. Generally, they're not broken. Yeah, I think this one was done pretty well overall. I think it's kind of fun. kind of a wacky character in the game, but done pretty well. Captain Rex. So for me, Captain Rex is not an S tier in terms of how he looks. And let me explain. So I think they did a pretty good job overall, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on right there with the head. There's something about this Rex where he like almost looks perfect, but it's almost like his head was placed in the wrong spot. I'm not a fan of the way that his right arm is completely fully extended. It's fully extended. His head almost seems, it doesn't look like it's leaning over to shoot. It almost looks like it's like his head's just physically off-centered, and he's like aiming down instead of up. I'd prefer the aim up rather than down. I think it looks better. So while there's a lot of things about this one that I like, there's just something off about the right arm and the head. The placement, it just doesn't look right to me, but I'm going to forgive it and just kind of keep it up in A tier. I do like this, of course in the game this guy's awesome, but there's just something about a sculpt where it's like, oh shoot, there's like a missed opportunity going on. So just my opinion on this one. The Battle Droid Sniper is interesting. I'm going to put this one actually lower, top of C tier. The problem I have with this guy is not a very stable mini. I think if this guy was on his knees, that would have looked better. It just looks really awkward how he's standing straight up with this enormous gun. There's just something it just kind of looks funky, kind of looks a little weird. I'm not a fan of the way it looks personally, but I can forgive it. I can forgive it a little bit. Of course, the battle droid itself looks fine. It's a very interesting looking rifle. I would just much preferred, like, on the knees or something like that. That would have been much cooler for a sniper, especially a sniper that looks this. It just looks very unstable. Next, we got the ARC Trooper Sniper. These guys look pretty cool. I'm gonna drop them up in A tier. Not my number one favorite looking clone, but awesome. Really cool position, kind of in the crouching position. Since it's a sniper, I would have preferred him to have a longer barrel, but it's fine the way it is. But definitely really good looking ARC Trooper for sure. Commander Gree. This is a B tier for me. Looks pretty solid overall. The green paint job does capture what he looks like in Clone Wars. Not my favorite paint job though in general. And there's just, I think his face could have been done a little bit sharper. I think like this guy's face is done very sharp. His mask is done very very sharp as well. But overall, a solid looking clone commander. So I'll move on. Yoda on Kaibuk. I'm gonna put this one up. Probably, I think I might put this top of A tier. It's never popped out to me as like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. But it looks awesome. Like Yoda's riding this, crazy creature on horseback. He's just running around slicing everyone up. It looks pretty dang good. It's kind of hard to see Yoda through it because he's wearing his cloak and his cloak is up too. But overall, I think this thing was pretty sweet. So for some reason, I don't feel like I can put it in S tier, but I'm just going to keep it where it is in A tier. Let's see. The Wookiee. What is this thing? Man, I hate having a name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But for this Wookiee, I think I don't like him as much. I think some of his features seem too smooth. Yes, he still has some of that reminiscent like texturing that you'd see on the Wookiee fur. I like how it was done a little bit earlier though, like in the last set. For me, I think this one's fine looking. Sculpt, I'm gonna put him in low B tier though, maybe even C tier. It's just not my favorite looking Wookiee. The Grenadier, interesting looking, solid looking clone trooper. I think again some of the things are done kind of well. For some reason, his mask isn't working for me as well on this one, but I think it's solid. B tier is fine. This Barriss actually I think looks pretty sweet, so I'm gonna put this Barriss up in A tier. It's just kind of like I need to think of a better adjective for it. I just kind of like the way Barriss is just kind of like walking around. Her cloak's done really well. Her clear, hood is up. I just think it's really cool looking. So I think a pretty, good looking Barriss mini for sure. I'm gonna drop it just a bit though. I don't know if I like them quite as much as these, but I think this Barriss is done very well. Chameleon droid, I really like what they're going for. Personally, I'm dropping an A tier. I know it's not like the most cool, like it's not like, I don't know what y'all are gonna think, but I'm a sucker for droids, and I think this thing looks so fun. I love how they're clever with doing translucent color into solid to kind of represent how it disappears, and it just looks really neat. Like it's a fun little like four-legged bug. I'm a fan. Big fan of what these look like, but I'll drop them in top of A tier though. Clone Trooper on Gelagrub. This thing is fascinating. I'm gonna stick him in like the very top of B tier, and the reason why is the Clone Trooper, I think proportionally is way too big in this particular set. Like he's just huge compared to other clones. At least he appears that way to me. Maybe he isn't. I've never really matched it up. It's just given that impression. And it's this enormous kind of slug-looking thing that does run over the sculpt maybe a little bit too much. Like it runs over the base, I should say, a little bit too much. It's kind of funky looking, but it is a really cool looking creature. This like interesting green looking guy in a slug. I'm not exactly sure utilitarian wise like what it's supposed to do. Like why would you ride on that instead of just like an ATRT or something? But I don't know. Either way, I've always thought they looked cool, but I'm going to scale it back just a little bit. I'll do top of B tier for me. Darth Sidious hologram. I'm going to put this guy in S tier. I think it just looks so neat. Like you have the, like they can get broken a little bit, but you have this thing, the kind of like the holo projector crab underneath them, and then it just looks, it literally looks like a hologram. I think it's one of the best looking like ghosts holograms done in the game. It's just a more subtle, it's not a dark blue color. It's a more subtle, like kind of glassy blue, which I think is really sweet. So I think this guy looks fantastic personally. Let's see, we're almost to the end here. We just have some of these stragglers. So General Obi-Wan Kenobi looks pretty good overall. They capture that season 1 Obi-Wan very well. I'm gonna put it low A tier. I do like how he's in this like traditional stance. The armor's done pretty good. Face is not bad. Definitely a very good looking mini. So I'll drop him in just kind of mid A tier for me. Count Dooku of Sereno, not my favorite looking Dooku. I'll drop him in B tier. I think he looks good. It's just almost the mini is just too flat. Like if you look at him from the side, it's just almost like a line. So I'd prefer something, maybe I like some of the other Dookus just a little bit more. This one's fine, but maybe if his head was turned more to the left. The paint job also to me doesn't seem like it's as good either. I don't know. Let's do these last one. This guy's a pretty crazy looking droid, the Lancer. Where do I drop the Lancer for me? I'm going to drop the Lancer in mid A tier. It's a sweet looking speeder. And then it's just such a funny concept to me. You have these IG droids with like accentuated like cones on their shoulders and arms, and they're in their head, and then they have a lance, which it's like, what is this, like medieval Star Wars? I think the concept is hilarious. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You know, you can just run around and run over a bunch of troops. I think they do look pretty dang cool. They have that IG flavor. This one's more black and red instead of like a dark gray and red, or like a dark gray and like, you know, other colors like red or maybe like orange eyes or whatnot. But I do think they look pretty sweet. So I'm gonna have to put these guys just kind of up here in A tier for sure. And then this Luminara for me is B tier. Something about the pose is just not quite as cool. I think the older Luminara had better detail personally. I can see kind of what they're going for. It's a more like a resilient look or something, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll put it in mid B tier. So, all right. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video for the sculpts on Clone Wars. A great set, honestly. Kind of a bummer that they had to reduce it to 40 characters, but honestly, it kind of makes sense when you've made so many of them. But overall, I think the sculpts are decent. Some of them, I think a lot of them for me just kind of wind up in B tier, but definitely a lot of good looking ones in my opinion, and there's only just a couple great S tier ones. So anyway, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this set. What's your favorite sculpt, least favorite sculpt, and definitely please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And until next time, have a good one.